I started being in like different dimensions. I couldn't work out what dimension was here and what was there. It's about letting ourselves come into our heart place and just open up. Then the energy, the transmission can actually be received. He's got his finger on the cosmic pulse of the future. We have gone through a period of change. He keeps saying it's unprecedented on Earth. The frequency of our planet is upping like it's on steroids. It's going crazy. Another reason to go into the heart, because you can actually come into the time that your heart is absolutely in coherence with the universe. Everybody is a starseed. We call them aliens, but simply they are different sorts of incarnations. They are souls, just like you. You are in a time of overlap. Everything actually has to break down in order for the new to come. This year, 2025, is absolutely power-packed with creative power. This is going to wane greatly after the alignment of the cosmos, this autumn equinox.
What is like the craziest message you've ever heard from Zach? Has there ever been anything you're like, whoa? Welcome everybody to the Heart Coherence Collaborative. I'm so excited today. We have our new friend Janet Treloar with us. And the reason this is so cool is because our amazing friend, dear Pam Gregory, highly recommended Janet. And she said, you have to have Janet on because she channels Zach and she's just an incredible human being. So I would love to just hear, who are you, Janet? And what's your story?
Oh, hey, our stories, geez, our stories are long. I'll try and keep it short. So, first of all, it's really quite incredible to be here. Pam, she may or may not have mentioned, I've sort of flown under the radar for a number of years. I got really sick about 4 years ago, and it's taken me a long, long time to sort of come out through it. So, um, I've sadly had to say no to pretty much everything, other than a few little things with Pam in between. So, but this with the heart and everything you guys are doing felt like a really good way of coming back into the world. So, we often talk about our spiritual experiences, but I just think of it as life. My earliest memories are of what back then we would have called of ghosts. I was a child that was incredibly highly sensitive, and here in England, just in the backwater on the outskirts of London, it wasn't really seen as the thing that you did at all to be like this. And I'd be happily chatting away to people that no one else could see. And when I was really little, it wasn't too problematic. And I was called oversensitive, I was called imaginative, all of those words. But even by the time I got to sort of 4 or 5, it became quite problematic. And then really there was a crazy throughout my childhood, it was really crazy, really, really strong supernatural happenings almost daily. It was my norm. And everything else wasn't, schoolwork, everything suffered. I started being in like different dimensions. I couldn't work out what dimension was here and what was there. And I eventually got to a point where I really desperately needed help. And an incredible medium who it turns out had moved in 3 doors down from us and actually said to my mum when she was pregnant that she was waiting for me and that I was going to really need her. And she was right. And through her, and back then, back in the 70s, we've still got them, the Spiritualist Association, but there was nowhere else to go. And thankfully, actually being in London, they were based up in Belgravia in West London. They took me on. They didn't used to take people under 18. And from about the age of 12, I trained with them. So I've had quite a long history of originally training my energy and how to discipline it. The difference between psychic and spirit, the difference between ghost and spirit. But I turned my back on it. I think this is the thing about our life stories, isn't it? And who we actually are, not just as a soul, but as a personality. And I really desired normality, what I called the norm. We don't really have, thankfully, in this world of technology and being so, there's so much stuff we can look at, but back then there wasn't. And I just wanted to be like this normal kid. So I really had this pendulum swing between it for years. I'd immerse myself in it to discipline it. But I used to lie to all my friends. I used to lie to everyone saying, that it wasn't, I just didn't tell anyone what I was doing because I was really really embarrassed. I had a lot of shame around it. And then later on in my 20s, I went back and trained formally with them, and that's when I became a trance medium as well. That's what channeling used to be called, or channeling was always the American name, and trance was like the old Victorian English name, but it's pretty much the same thing. But I didn't want to do it. I was working in the city. It was boom time in the 80s. I'd literally fallen out of school at 16 and straight into investment banking, of all things. Became very hedonistic, found my normal life was great, that I could sort of push all the supernatural stuff away if I just went out and partied. Had a really good time.
Yeah.
But that pendulum swing, you finally get that part in between, don't you? So even though the trance mediumship was with me, I think I really needed to deal with a lot of issues. And some channels might find the same thing. We find it very comfortable, often because of trauma, but of course, a lot of different things where we actually find it more comfortable outside of our body than in.
Mm.
And that actually can be a bit of a prerequisite for a pretty good trance medium because you're not embodying and you can allow, and you, especially if you have often allowed other people to sort of take over your energy a lot, but that becomes very, very, as you can understand, if it's not healthy, really imbalanced. And so I'd have my nose down one way, doing this work in the city, going out with my friends, partying, living my life. And then I had my secret life where I was doing all of this. And I'm someone who really feels like knowledge is king. I love lapping up information. So I then, after all of that, I worked in their healing clinic for a number of years at the weekends. And then I learned spirit release and earth energies. You know, I was doing all these things that would take a long time, but not really thinking of it that I would swap and do it as a job. And then I became a regression therapist, past life regression, but really with a focus as well on current life and trauma. And through training there, I got to deal with an awful lot of stuff. And I came out of that thinking, I've really got to change careers here. I really shouldn't be in the city anymore. So I did. As we say, I always think of manifestation through reality. The job that I had, I bludgeoned them, asking to have some sort of form of redundancy so that I could afford to do it. And then I did. And then I worked for about a decade, not only as a regression therapist, spirit leads, healing, all of these things. But I also was a trainer for the academy that I had been a part of. So I taught regression therapy and I was unbelievably busy for maybe 20 years with all of this. And I really felt like everything in my life was going really, really well, but I was just too busy. And the channeling would come back time and time again. People really wanted the channeling. And so I ended up stopping the therapy practice so that I could just channel. And for a number of years, I just did one-to-ones and I was back to back, just pure word of mouth. I still had a bit of an issue with being seen, being known for what I did. But I was just, book solid 6 months in advance. And then COVID hit. And then I got COVID myself. And then I became incredibly ill. And as I started to get better, what actually had happened is it completely broken down my nervous system. And there was knock-on effects. And then you can sort of fast forward. But the wonderful thing in that time is that a really good friend of mine, a colleague who actually had been one of my trainers at the academy, a lovely, lovely, incredible human, incredible soul, Hazel Newton, she'd come up with this idea on Patreon of having something called ZAC'S Portal because even though I trained as a trance medium where we would let different energies in, but only of very, very high vibration, it's become apparent, and as we see with a lot of the main channels today, they almost have this affinity with one main one. Um, it's like a bespoke suit. They know your energy, you know theirs, and it's a lot safer. And so I actually taught channeling with Zach anyway for years, and we did these incredible retreats and extravaganzas. Well, we tried to call it retreat, but there was so much that happened. We
Yeah.
had to call it extravaganzas that were going on. Um, and so we actually had, it was like a sideline really for me, this growing patron membership, Zach's Portal. And Hazel's got the most incredible heart. And she was just like, there's so much information, Jan. You cannot be in a room just giving this one to one, and people not hearing it. So we, even now, we do a free monthly chat. We call it a ZAC chat every single month that goes out. It's mainly on Patreon, but through a little bit of a happy cosmic mistake, it suddenly became not private on YouTube. And we're both absolutely rubbish at marketing, but people are finding it in that way. But it's really the membership as well. We do like monthly deep dives, and he creates incredible monthly meditations, which is so encoded with energy. And so this has really sort of come right up to where we are now, where I feel like I'm moving into a stage where I can actually, with my energy, start doing more. And I have been told by him, things are going to get busy. So, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying, and I've been desperate to sort of actually come back into my world, this world, and actually be part of it rather than having to be really, really careful and sort of a little bit on the back burner. But these sort of conversations, and I was looking at a number of yours, Carl. It's just I just love it that there's so much out there for people, and that whatever people are wanting, it's there. It doesn't have to be, slammed in the spiritual route or slammed in the health route. It's about wholeness.
Mhm.
And Zach's whole thing we've worked out over the years is about self-mastery, and it's self-mastery of all the aspects of ourselves. And he said right from the start, we are so past the time of service. We got to forget about the time of service. We're in a time of heart's desire.
Mm.
But for a lot of people, but wrong word, and for a lot of people, heart's desire is service. There's no reason why you cannot be in service when you're actually fulfilling your heart's desire. And he's all about the pleasure. He's really got this, he's like a fan of humanity. So he can really show us not our failings, but our weaknesses, and where things that maybe, collective traumas over centuries and things, how it's coming out in us. But he does it in a way that's very personable, very kind, very loving, and then gives you that prod of, come on now, what are you going to do about it? And he gives practical advice, but it's all about our self-mastery. And he's really, really pushed the point the last few years. That there is incredible power within us. And you look at all the people out there and everything you guys are doing and everything Heart Math is doing, and we can see it, it's scientifically, you can gauge it, but we know it. And it's remembering that this is power, not force. This is power coming from this incredible heart place where if we want better for ourselves, we can have it equally for everybody else. It doesn't have to be a them or us. And so this sort of whole journey, gosh, this is a long answer, isn't it, to one question?
I love it.
But this whole journey of life, and we never ever stop living, is something of a miracle, really, because we have choice in every single moment of how to live it, what we ingest, literally, but in our energy, and what we do with it, how we react, but more importantly, how we act on it. And coming from this place of, he uses words very regularly of kindness, grace, fortitude, um, and coming from the heart, not only heart's desire, about connecting us with the heart of the universe and reminding us we are not in a universe. The universe is in us. We are part of the universe. And so to populate that field with more and more of our hearts and everything that that produces.
Ah, I love tying the heart desire to service. That's a beautiful, connection. I would love to learn more about, well, first of all, that's an amazing story. There's so much to unpack there. I'd love to start because everyone will be really curious about who is Zach? Where is he from?
Yeah,
Do we know details on Zach?
we do. And you know what? Ask me next year, and I'll probably be able to add something else. Zach, oh my goodness, what he's taught me over the years. So when Zach first came through, I was actually I can't remember whether I was assisting or I was one of the trainers anyway at the academy. And we used to use this incredible place. A lot of it is online these days, but back in the day, it was all in person and people come from all over the world. And we used this incredible stately home that was a spiritual center. It looks a bit like Hogwarts. You know, people who come from India and places go, oh my God, I'm in Hogwarts. It was really quite cool. But in the evenings, there's no Wi-Fi, there was no TV, and people sort of sit around not really sure what to do. And so Hazel would often, go, come on, Chan, let's do a bit of channeling and things. And we get others around and in a really positive way. So not to push people, it was always more about heart opening again. And there was one day when there was a really, really complex question how it was coming through. And back then, what we used to do is set an intent for the highest vibration to come through to answer these questions. And my poor body was going through it with this energy and this energy. And she simply said, have we got a spokesperson that can pretty much answer anything? And then this little voice came through, and initially he introduced himself as a guide for the future. It all seemed so innocuous at the time, but now we go, oh yeah, tell me about it. And then because we said it's a bit of a mouthful, can we call you a name? He said Zach, and Zach, well, he said Zachariah, but we call him Zach, and he doesn't mind at all. What we've learned over the years, because so many people, and then I often used to do a lot of live events, and people come up afterwards and go, "Is that Djwal Khul?" And there is an incredible Ascended Master. Many other people listening will have heard of Djwal Khul. And Djwal Khul was a Tibetan master, and his energy is this emerald green. And people would see this incredible emerald green. People would take aura photos when I was channeling him, and it'd just be, you could barely see my face. It would just be this absolute complete green. And I'm an outer body channeler, which means that I literally would take my consciousness out and he would be completely and utter. Some people have like transmissions and different things, and that's all good, but they would see this contrast. And when he was asked directly, he would often laugh. And he would say, yes, he is. But what we realized is this Zach character, who is a real life he had. He's talked about it in extravaganzas and things. It was a life that he loved. I mean, we know so many of our lives can be quite traumatic. They can be more enjoyable than others. But this was a life in Syria a long time ago. He said, you're not going to find me in books or scriptures, but because it was a quiet little life in the countryside, but so close to his community, so close to animals, so close to the earth, and it was all about love. And he talked, I remember him telling a little story once about it and how when someone was dying, the whole community would come together and hug them. Literally hug them to death, which sounded crazy, but it was about the love that they were leaving with. And so what he interjects is he has access to this, like so many, these energies that are being channeled, this higher vibration that has no limits. And he says, we don't now, our superconscious, but can interact with so much information. But he packages it through this personality of Zach, which loves people. And he has a bit of it's a bit like an uncle at a wedding. He has some terrible sort of puns and jokes and how he says things sometimes, but it's very endearing for a lot of people. And people start to laugh, even in dire situations. And he says, this is about heart opening. When we can laugh, so it's not about just finding a black humor, it's about letting ourselves, whatever the circumstance in that moment, come into our heart place and just open up. And he said, then the energy, the transmission that goes way beyond the words, but this encoded energy that comes out can actually be received because we all have our energy fields, as we know, and we have inadvertently, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not. It is useful for us to have certain layers of protection. I used to be called Queen of Protection because of energy management, but we often have resistance and resilience to certain energy. And this is quite healthy for us. So when we're bombarded by very high energy, to actually allow that in, it can go beyond what we're just thinking, but actually having that heart opening. So Zach is all things. Yes, he is those personalities. Yes, I do believe he was Dwal Khul. But as he says, we can actually, especially out of incarnation, we can amalgamate and he can amalgamate and bring in all this other energy. But the friend that I know, that is Zach, is this sweet, sweet, sweet man with a terrible sense of humor and an even worse accent. In these days of being cancelled and PC, it's really not very PC. I can't actually do an accent at all. And so my friends and everyone sort of say, we know it's not you, Jan, but it's a sort of slightly dodgy, part Indian-y sort of accent. But a few friends of mine from India said, "Oh, I've got uncles in the north of India that sound just like him." So even though it's Zach, which was in Syria, it's almost like the energy of the Tibetan. And my own main guide, way before all of this, is actually a Tibetan monk as well. When I was a kid, I was fascinated with Tibet, and I certainly know the reason why. And so Zach, he he comes across in a way as well that he just it's all about the energy. It's all about the collaboration. He doesn't want to be seen as da, 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 this is Zach coming from the heavens. Um, because he wants it to be like, this is Zach who you sit next to having a chat over a meal. And that's just his way of delivery. Even though he can talk at length on pretty much any topic. Um, and bring the wisdom of the ages through for all those different things. But that is who Zach is as we know at the moment.
I
But
love
watch this space. Watch this space.
it. Yeah, that's awesome. Now, you said something about Zach being from the future. I'm curious if you could elaborate on how that influences his transmissions.
Oh, that is, yeah. Wow. That is something I've learned over the years. So he says it's a guide for the future, but what he also does is he's constantly talking about potential lines. And in our communities, often people call these timelines and all these different things. And I certainly believed, I think, when I was younger, um, that we had really like quite distinct destinies. Like between life in particular, when I used to take people really, really, you have to take people into very, very deep levels of hypnosis for life between lives, which is the memories from the most recent past life to the life now. And a lot of past life work we do is to do with the energies we've carried forward, which haven't been helpful, working and resolving through trauma. But with life between life, it's far more of a spiritual regression where you are discovering why you chose certain things. Why did you choose this body? Why did you choose this soul group? Why are you choosing this life purpose? I mean, for me right now, why did I choose to be so unwell for such a long time, which was nothing that I ever wanted consciously in that way. And listening time and time again to people discovering in this really deep hypnosis where imagination switches off, which is why we do it, it goes into the absolute authentic truth. It seemed like things were really, really set in stone. People would say, oh, at the age of 33, this is going to happen. And it really made me think, oh, I thought we had a lot more choice. But actually, what I've really discovered with Zach is we have got the choice, but our choice is often partly coming from our conscious mind, far more coming from our subconscious mind. And what I truly believe now, coming from here, it's coming from the heart. What is really in your heart is your head and your heart and your gut really aligned. When it is, whoa, pew. But when it's not, we can have all sorts of issues with that. So what he does, because he knows, we have got lifetime to work things out. Here's like, if you think you're enlightened right now, if you think you've got it all sorted, I'm sorry, but tomorrow you're going to pop off. You got to go. Because actually, there's always more to discover. He says the greatest thing about being human, which when we're human, we don't appreciate, is the mystery. It's like, it's wonderful being in the bliss state. He says it's from the 26th dimension, but I think he says it a bit tongue in cheek. But he says, but you know everything. Gets boring. He said, be here. He said, it's wonderful to wake up in the morning and not know absolutely exactly what's going to happen in the day, what incredible synchronicity is going to happen. Like, I didn't know what our conversation's going to be. I can look back on this afterwards and go, wasn't that really scrumptious and nice and good? So these potentials, he knows that we're not all sorted to just know what our potentials are. So he talks about the potentials collectively that are going on, potentials that are globally happening. He doesn't prophesize. I know there's a lot of different channels doing different things out there because there's something for everyone. Um, but one of the reasons why he doesn't is because he says in a heartbeat, and this is what, like with heart math, and sort of when you've got a whole group of people having a very emotive experience, it changes the timeline, it changes the potential. So we could be on a trajectory that, without sounding too negative, could be like quite, you know, falling down a hill. But actually, this is one of the reasons why he does this. The more we come into our heart, the more that we live this life of betterment and a desire for betterment for all, the more we are populating energetically, electromagnetically, but actually with our heart's desire to shift those potentials into things that are going to be really helpful, positive, useful, full of love, full of passion for people. So he's like he's got his finger on the cosmic pulse of the future, but he very cleverly, to me, I can say very cleverly because my friends say, "Oh, Jan, love you, but you're not that clever. We know it's Zach, not you." But he can really pinpoint things that might be coming up in the next month or the next few months, and how that also might be relating to us. This is where, years ago, when I first met Pam, the way I actually met Pam, I didn't know who she was at the time. She came to one of my channeling extravaganzas, and was actually working through a number of things in that way. But this is where it ties in, and they've talked a lot about the astrology, um, and how all of these different things and all the things that are going on in the cosmos, the eclipses, the Lionsgate, whatever, why it affects us so much. But the most important thing is not just seeing it as something that's being affected to us, but going into our hearts, taking it all in and knowing, and then we can start to populate the potentials rather than going, I want my timeline to be this, populate it with the feelings we want, the desires we want. And then it's a bit like the old saying, look after the pennies and the pounds will look after the self. It's a very English expression, but it's, if you do the work within, you don't have to worry about it so much on the outside because the universe will take care of that for yourself.
Our mission here at the Heart Coherence Collaborative is to get people in touch with the healing power of the heart.
And we really need your help. Right now, only 1% of viewers subscribe. We are aiming to take that number to 6%.
The reason why we want to do that is the more people that subscribe, the more people in the world can learn the magical practice of heart coherence.
So please help us out. If you've ever listened, if you love this message, please just take a moment to subscribe.
Thank you so much. We love you.
We love you.
Yeah. It's. I love Zach already. Just how big of a fan he is of hard energy. One of the things that's really cool is Leah and I we recently started doing like retreats, and our whole intention is to get people in the hard energy, like not just individually but collectively. And what we found is when hearts come together, there's like this building up of this energy that gets so amazing and so beautiful. It does automatically shift people into like beautiful timelines. Like, and it feels like what I would describe as the new earth being here now. And so I just love Zach already. But I'm curious, he said things are going to get busy. Did he mean for you specifically or the collective timeline?
I mean, we have gone through, a period of change. He keeps saying it's unprecedented on Earth. Um, Particularly since the Second World War, he really says the shift has, or he looks at it that particularly since the Industrial Revolution, that was a time where we started really coming into a space where, because of the way our world was changing, we had to evolve pretty damn quick. And he has a number of words that are his made up words. We said we need a Zach dictionary now, and he calls it evolate. So we talk Zach says evolate a lot, and it's really his amalgamation of evolution, but also with evolution. It's a constant reminder that the frequency of our planet, the Schumann resonance, everything is upping, and it is upping at lightning speed in comparison to the past. What's going on in the cosmos, um, or like the scalar rays, the energy we're getting from the sun, the moon, everything is like it's on steroids. It's going crazy. And this has increased so much. But with the advent of certain wars, particularly the Second World War, one of the silver linings that came out of that was compassion.
Mm.
And even though maybe we can look from the surface and say, huh, but as generations and ancestrally, what we started coming down was people having compassion beyond their immediate tribe, and more than just their immediate family. Um, then it started to filter out. And we're now living in a world where on such a because of technology, especially, you talk to many people, and when they talk about their good friends, they're all over the world. They're not those ones that they just grew up with in their town anymore. And therefore, there's such a mass amount of diversity, but also this mass amount of awareness of because of our world, we talk about the troubles far more than we talk about the positive things. And this can become incredibly overwhelming. Again, overwhelm, stress, it forces evolution because you have to find a way through it or you go under. And all of this that has happened, and particularly, I mean, I would probably say the last 20 years or more that I've noticed it in particular. I mean, that's probably, it was maybe about that time when I started channeling Zach in particular, and how he's talked and is built upon it. I don't think he wants to say too much of this is the year where it's going to be even more changing, but you can feel his energy it's building. And it's another reason why there are more and more channels. Yes, but more and more wonderful wisdom keepers, elders, leaders, teachers, whatever we want to call them, from all walks of life, incredible scientists, inventors, evolutionary people that are coming through to give us the skills on how to deal with this. So this busy time, and we talked about time speeding up, everyone's feeling that. And another reason to go into the heart, because you can actually come into the proper time, not the time that the world tells you is out there, but the time that your heart is absolutely in coherence with the universe. And that will be like a reset. It's like a factory reset. I do it quite often. I walk for 2 hours every morning. I walk in the trees. I go to the trees. The trees are my best friends. I love trees. Big shout out for the trees. And whoop, whoop. There's a little copse of beech trees, and Zach has often talked about the beech tree being for the heart. And I tune into that where it's really, oh, my nervous system was really damaged. I desperately needed that every day. But I come into it, and what I've realized is that resets me. Um, Not only do I find my center, my grounding, and recently he's talking a lot about electrical energy, and I'm discharging a lot that the my nervous system not being quite fixed as yet or quite being where I want it to be. And that has really, really helped to do those sorts of things. So we have all these tools, and Zach's reminding us not only about the tools within us, around us, but also the fact that when we come into doing this, we really are the universe. We have these moments out, and he says, you don't have to go, but I haven't got time for 4 hours of meditation today. It's like just do it in the moment, literally in the moment, and time again, coming back into that base. And then through that, you can surf the waves, surf this busy time. For me personally, I think the busy time is because I have been squirreled away. Even being on devices, my face would go, even now it's probably quite red. I would go bright red and I'd be shaking so much. Even with tons of hematite and shungai and you name it, and devices and blah, blah, blah. I do all the energy stuff. I do all the other stuff as well. And so it forced me to be apart from it, from my phone, from everything. I couldn't really keep up with all the things. I very embarrassingly say I've got a very old Facebook page with like a pitch on from about when I think I first opened it when I was about 30. That is the only social media. I'm a proper dinosaur. For me at the moment, it's been really healthy though, this busyness, he interjects and he gives me images on stage and with people and different things going on. He's like, get ready, it's going to get busy as soon as you're properly better. I was very, very busy before, and this has been like an interlude in between. But something Zach reminds us when it does get quite crazy out there, and with all the knowledge that we know, we can still feel really rocked by things that, whether they're going on in our community or the world. Some of the tragic things, especially some of the particularly tragic things that are happening right now in terms of earthquakes and so forth. And our heart literally goes, oh, and goes out to these people, is a reminder that we are this incredible, powerful source. He says so often, the universe has the solution for every problem that comes up on Earth, whether it's been created by, natural phenomena or whether it's been created by humans. He said, rest assured, the universe has the solution already. And to tap into your superconscious, to know what that solution is, and it might be something very simple, even for yourself in that way, where you get it from is here. Where you get it from is your heart, the superconsciousness. He said the boundaries have been taken off, the limitations. When I trained as a trance medium, they really badgered me. I didn't want to do the training at first because they were sort of hailing me. They're saying, oh, only a few people come through every few years, because it was tricky to do those sorts of things. And when I started teaching channeling with him, he very much said, everyone can be a channel. I was like, really? Because I'd had that hardwired into me when I was young. He said, no, that was true. And only a few years ago. But there are all these limitations that have been taken off, where they talk about lifting the veil, that we have this incredible power. And he tells us, even if we don't think we see it in the world, that we have evoluted enough to be put in charge of it. We are allowed, as it were, to have that superconscious nature, to be soul and our personality and our life experiences all amalgamated as one, and live the life that we want to live. And it doesn't have to be what we see in a magazine or what we believe is an ideal life or what we think is what we consider a spiritual life. For me, it's about following your passions, whatever that might be, whether it's going to a club and dancing on a speaker as I used to, and sort of what you were describing there in the retreats, that's what I used to get then. You'd feel that pumping. Back then it was like drum and bass music going through me, but there was no intention. It was just pure joy. And then you go home, fall asleep, go to work. But here now we know enough that we can collaborate, we can form this great union, and then set an intention. And intention is everything, everything, everything. I was taught, I trained with some incredible guys from Peru years ago, and all of the older indigenous traditions that I've come across talk about intention and talk about intention being key. And so that doesn't take hard work. In hypnosis, we talk about willpower being a finite thing, and it lays in your conscious, and why it's so hard to change habits when we're just pushing our willpower on it. When we go into our heart and our superconscious, it just fades away and heart desire takes over, and it becomes so much easier. And intention, of course, is in the heart. But we have to be clear what that intention is. I repeat a lot of my intentions, whether it's in affirmations, mantras, or just simply when I'm sitting down, at the end of the day with my husband and we're putting on Netflix and I'm thinking of something that I'm really wanting to shift and change, and I just repeat it a number of times in my head, but really with a feeling that I'm putting it out from my heart. He talks about how our heart is communicating constantly with every single cell, trillions of cells of our being. So where I've been really ill, I would often just sit there and ask my heart to communicate certain things that I really wanted my system to do, and remember how incredibly powerful we are. And I think probably as we're chatting, anyone that's listening, hopefully they're enjoying nodding along and thinking, yeah, that's how I feel. You don't have to feel you need to be in a certain tribe, in a certain box, do a certain thing. You find the path that's right for you, that keeps you healthy and strong. And I'm talking about healthy mentally, emotionally, everything, but in that really centered place. And if you really follow your heart's desire, it's rare that your heart's desire is very detrimental to other people. If you finding what your heart's desire is, you will want something more. Yeah, that's stuff to work on. That's the therapist in me that say, acknowledge it, write it down, even if it's not for that day. Acknowledge it, don't ignore it. But ultimately, when we're really in our heart space, generally humans are, we're here for the ride together. We're here to enjoy this crazy thing called life. When I was really sick, I did not know I was stubborn. I thought I was a bit of an airy fairy, go with the flow, whatever my friends wanted to do, wherever they want to go, I'd be like, yeah, I'll do that, I'll do that. And then when I got really, really sick and I really didn't know whether I was going to go, I shot myself. I went to Zach and I was trying to find this peace and all the books that I'd read and everything I knew from regression and all the regressions I'd had myself and all the different deaths. And I just laid there and I was trying to find this peace. And what came out of me, this primal part, it just went, hell no, I'm not going nowhere. I absolutely adore this planet and I want to see what's coming. We're in the midst of it. I don't want to go in the midst of it. I want to see what we're creating. I have great belief in the goodness of people. You know, the Dalai Lama, um, who I'm a huge fan of, love the Dalai Lama. Why wouldn't you? Um, but I remember something when I was reading his books when I was, even like a kid. Um, and he talks about how happiness is the common denominator between all of us want happiness. And I thought, I really want to see if we're in this time of heart's desire, I don't care what they say on the news. I truly believe that we're coming to a better state of being. We are going to be more collaborative, more collective. We are going to want to move as a whole. And as you say, that absolutely ecstatic experience of when you're joining hearts together. You don't have to know the person. They don't have to be exactly the same as you. Anything similar in terms of your lifestyle. But when you come together in your heart, oh my goodness. And then I go, okay, Zach, you got a point. Get ya. I
Yeah,
got ya. I got ya.
I love that. Yeah. When people ask me what do I do for a living, I just say I do heart coherence every day, and whatever comes from that is my life. And it's been a magical journey, just letting the heart guide the way. So I'm curious, what is like the craziest message you've ever heard from Zach? Has there ever been anything you're like, whoa?
I was, and I'm saying this because again, I think a lot of people, understandably, or certainly all the clients that I used to come across, would often dismiss a message if it didn't come packaged in a way they expected. There are beautiful books written about angels and connections and spontaneous, wonderful things and beautiful, and they're all true and they're all amazing. I'm a bit of a cosmic joke. I've always said this. Brought up on the edge of London in the 70s and 80s in the boom time of the city, shoulder pad central, wanting to be out there, wanting a really hedonistic lifestyle. And yet this was knocking on my door the whole time. And in all the training and considering, I trained up to like advanced level with mediumship and of course the trance mediumship and everything else. And people sort of understandably assumed I would have like a guide chatting away in my ear. I was like, look at my life. If I had that, I think it might be a bit different. And I do think as a soul, my soul is a lot more adventurous than me as Janet. And I've learnt this through regressions going into the soul and my soul going, yeah, I can take on this and that. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? What are you talking about? So in all of the trainings, where I think I'm a bit of a cosmic joke is people would get all this detailed information from their guides for themselves. And I just never did. I could do it for everybody else. And then after I had lots of therapy, I was putting it down to that. I was thinking, oh, it's the blocks. It's because one of the big things in life for me to overcome was shame. That was a massive one for me, and fear and different things. And then I got lots of that sorted and still nothing. So even though I can see him, I'm a really visual person. I see my main guide, this young Tibetan monk. I don't know whether you had the game when I was a kid, there was a game like hotter, colder. When you do
Oh,
something, you're
yeah.
getting hotter, colder. And that's how I used to have to work with this guide. And I could see him and be like nodding and smiling and be like a bit hotter. And I'd have to keep saying things like, you're getting there. I'm like, why won't they just talk to me? And so Zach, interestingly, can talk to all these other people and he can bring offer messages through to me in that way as well. Um, but not quite in the way that we are often thinking of. But when I get a very clear message, one that I really, really should listen to, it comes in loud and clear. It's almost like I'm hearing, and it's normally my voice, my rather dodgy Essex, Britishy accent. And it's really loud and it's like boom, straight in your head. And I can't get it out my head. It's not that I keep hearing it, but I'm just so aware of it. And I learnt years ago, years and years ago, I had a boyfriend who lived quite far away. And I used to stay there at weekends. And I used to drive home literally on a Sunday night at about 2 o'clock in the morning, get home, get dressed, and go to my job in the city. And I remember one particular time, I literally got up to leave and I heard so clearly, so concise, if you leave now, you will have a car crash. And I thought, where's that come from? I literally sort of jolted. And back then, I wasn't always listening to these things. I'm a very there's a perfectionist in me. I've beaten her out mostly because perfectionist, as any therapist would say, is actually not a great thing. But at that time I was like, no, there's no way I can miss work. I'm 200, 300 miles away from work. I need to go. So I did. And I had the windows open. I was thinking maybe I'm going to go to sleep. So it was one of the main motorways that I was coming home. And I was just so alert because I thought, I'm just going to be really careful, really, really careful. And then the junction before I got home, I needed to pull off. There was a diversion. They were doing some roadworks and I relaxed. And I was going through a sleepy town. I hadn't seen a car for about 10 minutes, just out in the countryside. And I got up to some traffic lights and they've gone red. This is like 4 in the morning now or something. They went green. I went through. It was blind. I couldn't see. Someone was careering really fast and had decided, thinking no cars, they would jump the lights. So they went into the side of me at about 50, 60 miles an hour. Now, the universe protected me. I came out of that with barely a scratch on me. The ambulance people couldn't believe it. I ended up like my car in a shop, literally through through the front of the shop. And I remember thinking to myself afterwards, I am going to listen. I'm going to listen. So fast forward a number of years, and I was at I can't remember the name of the conference, brilliant conference anyway, that had some of my heroes, Greg Braden and Joe Dispenza, and everyone was there. And Greg actually did, and maybe 15, 20 years ago, I'd gone to see him. That's when I'd first heard about heart math. And he did a heart coherence with people. And so we're sitting there, and I thought, oh, this is all very lovely. And I'm just got my analytical brain, I'm doing all of this as research. This is my work hat. And went into it and thought, oh, this is really nice. And he just said, just hear what your heart wants to say to you right now. And my voice just went, do a liver cleanse. And at the time, I was perfectly healthy and everything else. And Greg said afterwards, got a few people to stand up and just say, and it was beautiful. People were saying, I'm enough, and all of these wonderful things, and really like flowery, beautiful, poetic things. And I'm sitting there thinking, seriously, guys, I got do a liver cleanse. And I came home and I said it to my husband, and God love him. He calls me the driver of the crazy train. If I go a bit too out there and what I'm talking about with him, he goes, ding, ding, all aboard, driver of the crazy train. But I said that and he said, right, we've got to heed it. And actually, as it turns out, he had massive liver damage from trying to give up smoking. And he was using like those things that you use instead that give you nicotine. But it seems it's really damaging to his liver. And so it was probably him that needed it more than me. But I also see now that if I hadn't have done that at the time, what a worse state I might have been in. And so I find it really interesting when we get these sort of when they come out of the blue and not packaged as we might see them in the books or this or that. you know in your heart when to listen. You really do. So mine are more like that, are really sort of like short, sharp. I mean, I renegotiate after that whole stubborn, I'm not going now, I'm going to be here on Earth. I knew I'd already dodged a bullet, which is a completely different story. That my plan A was to actually pass before I was 30. I thought it was all going to be too much, all the stuff that I said about my childhood, and that I'd want to go at 30. But coming up to it, there was a number of things that happened, everything from dodging where a bomb was to being chased by people with knives twice in 1 week and all sorts of things that would have been a way out. But I stayed. And I think my soul, rather than renegotiating a new contract, sort of winged it. And that was almost like when Zach came in as well. It's like, yeah, let's see where we're going to go. We're both adventurous. We're both going to do this. And then when I got really sick, I was very much after that shouting out. I was like, God, if I'm winging this, I don't want that. I want to renegotiate. And I didn't do it myself. A few days later, I heard a number of times 92 or 97. And I kept thinking, is this like bingo? What are they doing? Why are they shouting at me 92 or 97? And then I just realized, I thought, oh my God, this is my soul telling me I've renegotiated. And so who knows? Maybe we'll have a little call around then, Carl, and we'll be talking about how we're youthing and we'll look about like 20 and we'll be in our 90s. And I think it was 92 or 96. It was like 92 if you're not enjoying things, 97 if you're enjoying it a bit more.
That's
And it can sound quite crazy to other people, and it probably is, crazy train driver. But you've got to trust your heart, haven't you? And that's really where it comes from. But yeah, the actual things that Zach, when he delivers in a transmission, they are mind-boggling, heart-boggling, mind-boggling, but they are incredible what comes through. But yeah, for me, myself, you know, my little world, it's those little shouty things in my head, and then I really stop and listen.
nice. Yeah, I don't know if you saw when I looked down. It's very interesting, but we're wearing the same color shirt, and my
Yeah.
the whole shirt is a moon. So
Oh, and I got my
yeah,
moon and my stars on
yeah,
today.
we're vibing. So I don't know if that's the hard energy or what, but now in regards to like Zach's messages being profound, has there been anything that's come through that's altered the course of your life from him?
Yeah. Without sounding too cheesy,
Yeah,
I'd almost say all of it.
yeah,
For me personally, even with all the therapy that I needed to go through, that I didn't realize, often when we go on a training, it's actually what we actually need, and we, um, have not actually quite twigged. And then a lot of other therapy, so much energy work, so much healing, so much this, so much that, and knowing that this is a life in progress. You can still have those moments, or I had those moments where, bizarrely, I know I sound a bit of a contradiction. I'm a massive skeptic about everything. I'm I love the science and the data. I did some like personality testing years ago, and things like data research and accountancy was what was they put me down as would be my desired because I number crunch. I love the information, and I feel like I need to gather all the information, all the information, all the information before I make a decision. And with all the training that I had, and all the incredible people I met and everything, there's a part that would still go, am I just a bit crazy? Is this actually, am I going to die and find out? And they're going to go, you were talking rubbish. And then feel really, really bad on all of these people. So, especially when I was doing one-to-ones, a bit like how you say, I didn't want to know anything about the people. I would love the fact of seeing new people, someone would pop online from the other side of the world and I knew their name and that they booked a session. And pretty much without fail at the end, they would go, how did Zach know this about my life? Because one to one, he would go into well, I'd say into their energy. That sounds invasive. He would ask if that would be okay, but through the guides and things. And he would draw out and tell them things that they hadn't thought of for years and how it was impacting and blah, 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 all of that sort of stuff. And even I'm not the sharpest tool in the box. I don't get it the first round. I'm someone who needs constant or needed constant confirmation. And I just thought, I can't doubt you, Zach. And so, yes, I needed to do things. I always think our lives are a bit like, do you remember that film Slumdog Millionaire?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he knew all the answers because they were his life experiences. In every moment, we are an amalgamation of all our life experiences, and therefore all our thoughts, emotions, everything go with that. And for me personally, and what these people wouldn't know because it's their session, it's nothing to do with me. What Zach was doing was mainly giving them something incredible and something that they would listen to time and again in the transmission. And they'd probably be like almost like a lifetime within one session of things that they could deal with and work through. But every single time it was another part that said, Jan, take it, understand it. And not in an ego way of tra la 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 la, isn't this amazing what I can do? Not at all. But just confirmation of you can relax. You can relax. You don't have to work so hard to create something amazing for people because Zach's doing it. And Zach is doing it because you have disciplined your energy. I'm very, very, very hot, particularly for channeling, in particularly that is done in a very healthy way. Um, and that your energy is protected and looked after and all of these things, but that whilst this was actually going on, these incredible situations that were happening were healing me. They were healing parts of me that go back to other lives, that would just be, that thing of if it's underneath the surface and you're really, really quick and you're doing everything quickly, you just don't notice it. But then you sit and you go quiet, you go underneath the surface, and there's a voice that says, I'm still here. You're still not sure, are you? You still are questioning. And it was such a relief to take off this mantle, this burden. And which is why I say, it's quite a joke. It used to be at the extravaganzas. I working in things like investment banking and things that I did, everything was very precise and I liked that and liked to be really organized. I would turn up to a 4-day extravaganza with a bunch of crystals and sprays and oracle cards and that would just might be something that is an in between and my laptop and things like that and not have a clue. He would have given us a theme, like one theme was on the heart. Um, Particularly, another one was on Atlantis, and I didn't know what it would be about. And yet, if I'd have got involved beforehand, I would have clipped his wings. And he was like, bang, 4 days solid with just the most incredible, yes, channeling, but also other people channeling, um, the meditations and the breakthroughs people would have. I just felt so privileged and humble and blessed to be a part of. The very last one was literally a few days before the lockdown. I remember we had people flying back all over the place. A number of people were going back to um, Europe, and there was some people that had to literally walk across borders because their country was shut. So it was the universe arranged that. I even used to arrange the dates right up until the wire when I could do them. So I'll be excited, ideally in the future, to get back to doing things like that as well. And so it does sound cheesy to say, I think all of his messages, because what he does now with Patreon and because he talks about self-mastery, you can go back to things from 6 years ago and it's as relevant right now as it was then because he's talking about these aspects. And because each time so many people say to me, you know what, I think he was talking about me in that deep dive. I think he was talking directly to me, but I feel the same. I can come out of it and go, whoa, I've got that piece of the puzzle. And I love the fact that a lot of it is singing from the same hymn sheet, as we used to say, in terms of everything that I had felt and learned, discovered, life experiences through all the hypnosis, the regression, the healing, the mediumship, all of these things. But then he takes it either to a next level. But what I also love is sometimes he tells new stuff going on, and I can very quickly just go, you know what? I can park that I believed before because there's this new information. So I would say that everything that he does, it is for everybody, and it's as much for me as it is for everybody else. I will be a work in progress till I'm 92 or 97, and I pop off this mortal coil onto another adventure. But until then, my heart's desire is to live a life that I love with the people I love. Being sick for a number of years has taught me unbelievable value of friendship. And I cannot tell you the amazing, amazing friends and how that got me through. And just wanting to now almost like come out of it all to actually, it's a bit like opening the curtains. What's that brilliant Elbow song? Throw those curtains wide, let the sunlight in, let our hearts sing, and just really be a part of it and enjoy it, enjoy the ride, enjoy, if we can, what Zach says of not knowing what's around the corner, allowing ourselves to not be absolutely set on a very, very specific destiny,
Mm.
but enjoy the journey. He talks about train tracks and what train you're getting on, and that you can jump off at any time. You can get on another one. If something isn't serving you, you have the power, you have the choice within you, and you're connected to all this extra energy. If you if you want to, pull it doing like we're doing like heart coherence, to become really centered and really focused. And whatever your situation is, even when really sick, like I've been, you can you have the ability to change your circumstances. You have the ability to recognize and honor what your heart's desire truly is without being apologetic to the world, to anybody, but know it for yourself. And the more we do that, the more I truly believe we let go of so much energy that we might have been carrying and have more space to be more heart, to be more love, to be more than we were before, with the idea that by us being more, everything else is more too. He talks about betterment for all. I love one of his sayings is that he used a long time ago and he keeps using is allow change to change you.
Mm.
Very, very simple, but not always easy to do. But actually, if you allow change to change you, you can really, yeah, you can turn it around. Whatever is not working in your life, whatever is overwhelming, whatever is stopping you from being that heart's desire, you can turn it around. I truly, truly believe that. So yeah, bit
I love
cheesy there, but it's everything. It's everything, really, he says.
Beautiful. Can we meet Zach?
Of course you can. Yeah. I'm just going to put a little hair clip in because otherwise all you'll see is a big, probably a big panel of hair. He does that a lot. It doesn't take me long at all, especially as I've been talking about him. It's probably like, oh, there. Um, so yeah, I'll bring him through and you can have a chat and ask him whatever you like.
Awesome.
Okay. Welcome, my dear. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hello. Is there any message that you'd like to share with anyone listening right now?
Mm, most definitely. It is a topic that has been centered to your world for some time. This heart resonance. It is becoming more and more prolific, more and more profound, more and more necessary in the everyday world that you are living in. Whatever your bent, whatever your choices, there is this common denominator between all that everybody has heart. And of course, nature has heart, even if it does not have the physical organ that you do. And this really is a point of collective collaboration. As we go through the future, as you see it now, you're in it, of course, But as you go in, the further months, the further years, the more heart-based you are. And what we mean by that is setting your center so close to the heart, the more prevalent it will be the positive forces of change that you not only see, but you are part of. Of course, all the other parts need to also be in alignment or at least an acceptance of where they are for the heart to step forward. A bit like a performer on the stage where one steps forward and takes the lead. Those that are, rather than battling with their heart, but coming together, finding a friend in their heart, they are the ones that are going to find this easier than others. And therefore, really the message is whatever you find there, people have a lot of hurty hearts. There's a lot of pain in the world. And this is squirreled away, you could say, one of Janet's expressions, squirreled away in the cellular aspects of your body. And it might be in different organs and different things. But even if it is squirreled away somewhere else, there will be an echo of it, like a reflection of it in the heart, because the heart contains the whole. The universe is in the heart, and also your heart is in the universe. This is such a deep way of coherence, of coming together, of oneness and unity. It is encouraged at this time simply to find what lays there. What is stopping you? What is a boundary around your heart becoming your main speaker in your life? And of course, they may take some work to work through these things. They will have built up in a lifetime. We do not expect simply to say, oh, find this thing, and you can just get rid of it, poof, just like that. What we are saying, however, is once you have identified, you have far more means because the universe will start to bring to you what you need to overcome. This could be a new teacher, a new friend. This could be an activity. Remember, many energies that people carry in their lives, when they have become outdated and they are sitting there, a bit like an old wrapper after you've eaten the chocolate that's inside, to actually move them, you often can do it just with energy, just by interacting with something energetic that you love to do, combined with an intent to shake off whatever it may be. So whether that may be running, dancing, any sort of situation, rock climbing, whatever it may be, you can actually set an intent before. Go for the pleasure, go for the enjoyment of what you are doing, but have an intent that your body shakes off stagnant energy. And you can always add to it, particularly around the heart center. Now, of course, everywhere needs doing, but in this particular message, it is useful for us to put this focus on the heart. And you will find you can really clear the decks, even simply by doing that. Because whatever your age you are, when you have dealt with many things, these old echoes of the past that may be sitting there causing problems, you can literally shake off. And even, shaky, shaky, like we often do in such practices as Qigong and other, can be very helpful. So you can be mindful as you might do in yoga or others, or you can just simply enjoy the task, something fast and fun, out on a boat at sea, whatever it may be, but add this intention. And then as you start to let the stagnant energy go, you have far more energy to then put into focus those things which are still very prevalent in your life and working through them in whatever way feels right for you. The most important thing is once you have identified and once your heart's desire is choosing to overcome, then you will find the solution on how to do it. If the solution isn't coming, be very honest with yourself and go into your heart and say, do I really want to clear this? Or is this actually adding a benefit? Is there a secondary gain? What is it? The more honest we can be in our human lives with what is going on internally, externally, whether it is something that sounds good or not, the more we have the fortitude. Yes, the fortitude and the grace to move through and to clear. Does this make sense to you, my dear? Does this resonate with all that you feel yourself?
Yes, absolutely. And you might already be my favorite channel because of how heart-centered your message is.
Well, there's something for everybody. This is why I gave Janet the nudge. Ha! And of course, different Pamela to do this. She is able to come out into the world more than she thinks at this time. And we have lots of things to share, do we not? To be friendly with each other, to come together. Remember that what you have to share, as you know, is just as relevant to the world, just as powerful, packing a punch. So these channeled voices, haha, yes, we can see vast arrays into the universe. There is great wisdom, you could say, so this very tongue-in-cheek, haha. But we can bring through all of these things. But what we are really prompting is therefore for people then, by taking it in, to really listen to themselves and to see themselves in the same regard, to see themselves as a being of light, to see themselves as a power-packed punch of the universe. The very first thing that comes into union when you are a little baby in the womb, when you are first there, your soul is not there. It takes time for the soul to come together. We want the person that is to come to start to formulate, to start to create a personality, believe it or not, even before the soul comes in. So the soul doesn't just come in and just come over everything. But what the soul does is it ignites the heart. It puts creative fire into the heart, and then it lands into the solar plexus and brings everything together. Now, why are you thinking, why does he talk about something like this? This is even pre-birth. But actually, what it's really doing is reminding you of the importance in every moment because you are living new moments every single time. Your life is new every single time. Every moment you are different. Your cellular makeup is changing the whole time. Everything is changing. But you have an anchor point in your heart. And when that heart is in alignment, not only with the other energy centers of your body and your whole energy field, the etheric, beyond, emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, all of these things, but also with the stars above, the earth below. When you actually allow yourself to fully take yourself in as part of nature, as part of the universe, and say, yes, this is who I am. I am a fractal of the whole. I am part of this wondrous thing. Then your heart lights up even more because you give it even more power. And when we fuel that power with all the good things that we want, all the betterment that we want, it is very hard to put it into the background once more. So you could say live from the heart. Obviously, some decisions are really necessary to have the head. You haven't been given this clever brain and the mind and the energy outside there for no reason. And of course, your gut, which people are becoming so much more aware of the sacred divinity power. Imagination does not always come from the head, from the mind. It actually comes from the gut as well. When all of these forces come together, with heart, unstoppable, unstoppable. And what you are doing, my dear friend, as well, with everything that you know and your life experiences and everything else that you're saying, and because you're coming from the heart, you are giving the wisdom of the ages as well. And this is why, yes, a very lovely pairing, very enjoyable to talk to you, very interesting to listen to Janet gabble away before. Understand this.
Oh, that is amazing. Yeah, I heard Janet talk about that you mentioned the energy on the planet. Could you speak a little bit about what's going on with the energy on the planet?
One of the main things, there's so many things how many, not only hours, how many days do you have? But the thing that is most prevalent right now that maybe yourself, people that are listening might not know, you are in a time of overlap. Okay. For many years, the most potent energy has been one of destruction, dissolution. And before feeling fear and thinking, oh no, this was actually natural at this time. It is like the cycles of the season. You could say it is like autumn coming into winter when everything actually has to break down in order for the new to come. And you've heard many, many channels, many, many speakers, many, many teachers talk about this and how this is actually happening. And you have talked about the predictions as well of when the creative force this year, 2025, is the first of the years that is absolutely power packed with creative power. There's been creativity all the way through, but you may have felt yourself, it is a bit like pushing. You have to push it uphill. It has been quite hard work because of the destruction energy has been so strong. Now, you can't have only destruction or only creativity, of course, and you live in a world that will always have levels of polarization, and therefore you get a mix of everything, day and night, so forth. But now, what you are doing is you are in this time of overlap where the destruction forces, the energy of breaking down the old, whether you are looking at it in society, in culture, whatever it might be, or whether you're looking within your own bodies, within your own relationships, within your society, your communities, this is still breaking down. However, you have such fire. One of the reasons why you are being immerse so much in the scalar energies and other energies from the sun at this time, and also being counteracted by higher vibrational energies from the moon. And because the earth is your grounding force that holds you, this is needed to elevate itself in frequency to be able to hold all of this. With all of this that is actually moving through and this creative power, there is such an explosion that is happening. And you'll see in the very near future great strides in invention and other of what you might call positive force, things that are going to very much help your planet, help people. A lot of the creative power, because of where everybody has gone with their hearts, where's everyone gone, and where the electromagnetic energy of the earth has been supporting now, where it was going a little bit of kilter, now it is more supporting. It means that these energies of creation are coming out of love rather than fear. If you look back, not so long ago, a lot of the inventions were coming out of a place of fear, a place of survival, a place of looking after one's own. When the creative power is coming far more out of the joy, the beauty of the world, out of heart's desire, out of a place of wanting things to be better for everybody, then you get these incredible creations. And of course, they come from within, they come from the superconscious. Some are very much in combination, even if it is on what we might call the imagination realm with alien forces and other. So other technologies, other realms getting involved. But the reason why I'm mentioning this so clearly now is it can feel a big pressure because you've got an overlap. You've got destruction and you've got creativity happening at the same time. And this can prove quite problematic in life. And this is something just simply to remember. So if you are coming across these situations and maybe the world is telling you or friends are telling you, oh, that would go as flow, because if that was how it was supposed to be, this would be easy. Whether this is gearing up in something to do with work or something to do with a relationship or something to do with home life, and it feels like an uphill struggle. It is not necessarily that you're not in flow. It is because you are living in a time where both energies are very strong. Now, this is going to wane greatly after this autumn equinox. And then as we move to the end of the year and into a place of renewal that always comes with the new year, whether you're in the northern or southern hemisphere, then we will start to see the energy start to relax, and things that you might have been pushing, 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 even for the last 2, 3 years, suddenly, boom, all works out. What you can do, however, is through the heart, is go in when you are having these problems or having these issues, or where a solution that you are trying and pushing for is not happening. And again, what we were saying before, being very honest with self, but just asking and with intention, let me know. Let me know, is this to do with the energy that is prevalent on the planet at this time, or is this something that is more my own energy that I need to shift? And then wait up to 3 days. Three is a very magic number, but wait up to 3 days and look for the signs. You may already have ways that your helper guides or your own spirit soul, because you know your soul is just as wise as your helper guides, and your soul will often talk directly to you in this way. The part that stays out, your higher self. I will let you know, and then be very honest. If it is something that feels that it is coming more from you, set aside a little bit of time to work on that. If it feels like it's the world, rather than submit and just go poof in a little heap and say, well, I'm just going to sit down and do nothing because of that. It does not mean to not keep trying, but simply to be able to be mindful of self, to not take it personally, to say, you know what I will tune in for and what I can set the intent is let the energies of the universe let me know when they are in flow, when there is a good alignment. Of course, with astrology and others, people may use these things to determine which is a good way, but you may have many, many different other ways, maybe things that are very telling for you. And then you start to find a more clearer, even route through path of your life. And you can take off some of the extra stresses, extra strains. Understand, yes?
Yes. I'm curious why there is a shift happening at the autumn equinox specifically.
Mm. This is to do with the alignment of the cosmos. This is to do with planetary situations, to do with the cuboid of the universe. So, due to where the planets are positioned, this will give certain emphasis, as we know, very light level astrology here, onto the peoples. Now, because this is something that is so collective, coming from a place of destruction to coming to a place of pure creativity, it is working through the people. It is working through the people on the planet and nature as a whole. However, nature, all the beautiful species of animal, insect, fishes, everything, they go with the seasons. They go with what is actually happening. They feel the frequency and they shift and change. They do not resist because they accept wholeheartedly. They are so much more advanced, you could say, than humans in this regard. They accept they are part of nature and they just go with the flow. However, humans have very set ideas, understandably so, of what their own personal interests are. And then they also may have a collective and collaborative interest. And this means that often, due to alignments and how these things happen in nature, it takes longer for humans to, as you might say, get with the program because they are still running these old programs and they're still saying, well, I found this is the way that actually suits me now. So all of this energy is situated and affecting them, but they haven't really caught up. So when this is happening around the equinox, and now that we have gone through Lionsgate and many other of the more well-known uh, cosmic coming together, let us see, these portals that happen, this is allowing energy out and energy in, for want of a better word. And this is allowing a letting off of steam. And this shifts and moves more from the destruction into the creativity. And so it is like a season in a way. You have moved through this, but there has been this time of overlap. But this is where we are seeing, due to what is actually happening, these are the potential lines. This is where we are seeing that humans will have far more agency in what they are doing to actually go, oh, right, that thing that I've been pushing for the last 5 months has been so hard. And now I've suddenly received a letter, received an email, and it is all fine. It is all going through, whether it is a legal situation, whatever it might be. But because this very much goes through our heart, this then affects our emotions. So difficulties in relationships, old grudges, uh, uh, narratives between people that have just felt like they have been maybe even spiraling down, however much we have been trying to have them spiral up, may simply just clear. Maybe you'll get a phone call from someone you haven't heard of in 20 years that says, I was thinking of you. Let's reconnect. We are seeing this lightening, and through the lightening, this is really also an indication. Everybody is creative. You don't have to think, but I'm not an artist, I'm not a writer, I do not create music. No, you create in your life. If nothing else, you create love. You can create by how you treat people. You can create kindness. So even if you have not got a project, something to do with word, something to do with a hobby, and you think, well, I don't create anything, think what you can create. You can create a space within you that gives off love and kindness to others, that gives off the ability for people to look at you and say, there is someone I can talk to. We need great listeners in the world. We need people to share. So, whatever you think your skills are, you have an innate ability as well. And so, this is why with the equinox, we predict as we see the potential lines, the most strongest of all the potentials is that humans will relax into this and that we will see this creative power. And then we'll probably get a pendulum swing the other side and, a burst of huge energy coming off of people. And like anything, these things can be balanced, modified, and enjoyed in ways that you truly wish to enjoy. Does this make sense to you, my dear, regarding the equinox?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for elaborating on that. One thing that I'm curious about is you had mentioned aliens or extraterrestrials influencing earlier in the conversation. You mentioned that. I am just curious your take. Is there anything you want us to know about extraterrestrials? Are there any timelines you see that are important? Or like how are they interacting with the Earth right now compared to maybe other times?
The interaction at this time is far more in communication through the mind space. There is physical activity, and everybody knows of certain levels of physical activity, whether they choose to engage with it or not. However, the way the planet is, and because of this opening up of your super consciousness, it is far easier now for we call them aliens, but simply they are different sorts of incarnations. They are souls, just like you or everybody. People talk about starseeds, and sometimes I laugh a little bit because everybody is a starseed. Everybody has had lives in many, many different dimensions, many, many different types of planetary situations. It is just that usually when you come into life, along with the amnesia of their lives before, you get anchored into your love of Earth, why you've chosen to come back to Earth, which is why predominantly most people may have a little bit of an inkling, but they say, well, I'm just here from Earth, if they were actually asked about it. But you go into anybody's history, energetic history, and you'll find all these others. But there are people who, for many, many different reasons, have not had that filter put on and are very aware of their starseed heritage. And many of them is also so that they can attract this energy in to have open minds telepathically to receive the information. And a lot of it is coming from those who have got timelines and trajectories that have gone through evolutionary leaps like you are going through now. Some where it has not gone so well, and some where you could say it has gone well, and learning from these experiences. And through those, there are technologies that can be very collaborative in a carbon-based world that you live in. Of course, there are many, many different sorts of alien technologies that may not be uh, very feasible in your world right now. But by coming through in this telepathic manner, what it allows it to do, rather than like a straight download, as you might get into your computer on something, it filters through the nervous system. It filters through that which is the gateway between the energies outside of self and the physical energies within, and allows that person who is receiving through their life experiences to through who they are. Maybe they have got a scientific background and they can then use that information, as it were, and inspired by it, use it in many of the things that they are creating. Maybe they have a very much a heart in ecology. And this is about looking after, maybe helping certain species or whatever it may be. Maybe it is in art. So it is using predispositions within things that have been inspired not just by your soul, but remember how important your life experience is. This is not about ego, but you could say personality. It is important who you are, what you have chosen, and to use your strengths. And through that, it is coming through. I'm sure you can think of many musical icons, scientific icons, and others who have been very, very inspired. And you say, wow, where did that come from? That is not of the earth. Now, it does not mean to say that humans on their own cannot do it. I am a vast fan of humanity and this power pack within you, and the fact that you have so much connection now that you can do it yourself. However, there have been situations where it has been a little bit useful, a bit like a teacher in a class. You cannot take a very, very young child and just say, teach yourself to read. But if a teacher is helping them to read, it inspires them and they are knowing what they're doing. And this is the same thing, particularly with very new technology, very left field, you could say it, technology, things that seem to have come out of the blue. And like I say, this you often see it in the arts. You often see it in works of art. You even see it, films and others, some that seem very prophetic, that are coming across. And so often these people are sitting, at home in their little workroom, busying themselves like a busy bee, and people don't know who they are. But often they are people that are center stage because they are the ones that often listen to or have the platform to be able to share a huge amount and disseminate the information. And so it is coming through. It is not to say everything that's new, of course, as we say, is coming from an alien influence, but there's nothing wrong. It is just simply like a teacher that has already learned these things already that may come through with telepathic power and influence to bring through innovations that are very useful. And because, as we say, you're coming into a time after destruction, into creativity, why not use all the jewels of the universe? You are in a very specific cuboid of the universe, which is moving quicker than other parts. Now, that would seem very strange to an astrophysicist, but what we mean is the time and the matter here is working in a slightly different way, which encourages faster and faster expansion and evolution. And might I dare say, evolution for all. Understand? Yes.
Yes, I do. That's very exciting to be a part of this special time. I'm curious if you could touch on your perspective. We hear a lot of people here speaking about the new Earth. Is it your take that there actually are multiple Earth systems playing out right now?
Hmm. The way we look at it is a little bit like a person with a split personality. Okay. Now, you do not hear this so much these days. This was something maybe 100 of your years ago. It was a very contentious point, and people talking about split personalities. But it is very true with people who have undergone significant trauma that parts start to splinter off. And they can seem as if they are different from the whole, that you could have a whole community living argy-bargying with each other within one person. You could have all these different personalities, and some get on and some don't, and they could be very, very different from each other. Now you think, Zachariah, why are you talking about split personalities? What we have here on Earth is pressure. There has been so much pressure. Yes, we can talk in these wondrous terms of particularly your last 70, 80 years, in particular, of the incredible leaps and bounds and changes and the destruction that has come from that, as well as the creation here on your planet. There has also been a lot of pressure that has come to that. And people have succumbed sometimes to the pressure. And the earth is the same. We all know the toxins, things that humans have created, the precious on the planet. Your crystals even have been mined, your gold has been mined. things that were inherently in the earth and stabilizing the earth. There have been a multitude of situations regarding power and fuel, uh, all sorts of resources which have been taken, 99% of them. And in this, the earth itself has had a lot of pressure, and you are part of the earth. You are made up of the earth. The foods that you eat that are grown, even in your very, very healthy ways, in the soil, uh, are very difficult now because they don't have the nutrients and other such things as before. So everybody is under pressure. Now, that does not mean to say all these people are going to have a split personality, but what we are seeing and what is being projected by many is a potential where you literally have a splitting of the earth. Now you could see this in a dimensional way where we talk about 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D, 7D, and that there are different dimensions. And you could sort of be living on an earth that somebody else in your neighborhood may be living, and you never ever come across them. You never actually see them because vibrationally speaking, they are in a slightly different dimension from the one you are. And it is really down to what is people's in his hearts. Maybe not unsurprisingly, everything we talk about in the hearts of where they actually are. Now, the reality of this splitting, the reality is that comes from pressure, that comes from stress, that comes from trauma. We often view it that if people are looking at high frequencies, do all of this good work, do wonderful things in the high frequencies, they will pop up to a higher frequency and leave the density behind. But your body is actually pretty damn dense. It needs to be to remain physical. There is physicality in the world where density is useful. If everything, as you've been speaking of, regarding the center point, regarding how you know the energy of the heart, and this is true for the earth, you can see the torus around the earth when you look at it energetically. When we have all of that flow, we do not have to be in the pressure point. We do not have to choose and say, I am in this or I am this. The potential line, so it's very, very strong, these other potential lines of falling into these different categories of different dimensions and people falling into them and falling away from everything else. However, what we would propose, what would be more ideal, what in a wishful way, haha, funny for energies such as I to talk of in a wishful way, would be so wonderful for people's heart projections in their betterment for all, in their idealized view of a collective oneness of moving up and moving out and expanding, a bit like walking out into the sunshine when the sunrise comes up. Yes, we need the darkness, yes, we need the sleep, but we also need the sun to thrive. Just as this, if we look at it in a collective way, if we say, if I desire it for myself, I desire it for all, forgetting any conceptions I have about what is right, wrong, good, bad, who deserves it, who doesn't, who is worthy, who is not. But simply, we are all part of the universe. And because of this, as the universe and as a fragment of nature, we desire for it to move as one, then the splitting will not happen. You will not have what happens to people with trauma and a splitting of personality. What actually happens is the personality is loved. It grows, it is nurtured, it becomes better, more fulfilled, more whole than it ever was before. And we see this for humanity. So the potential lines are there for these other splittings. What we would suggest, if it is in the heart to do so, if you put your energy into, come on, let's do it together. Let's have a healthy oneness and elevated earth for all. Then all these creation things can pop in, these inventions can pop in, and we can move as one. And then you don't have to get distracted by the deserving, undeserving, the worthy, the not worthy. All you have to do is actually focus on yourself and that desire, because if everybody lifts, it becomes lighter, it is easier to deal with problems, there is not so much pain, not so much hurt in the world, and everything thrives. Does this make sense to you, my dear, regarding the splitting?
It does. Thank you so much. Do you have any final message for our group?
Mhm. I would simply say live your life. Do not be bombarded and bamboozled by all that you have heard here or anywhere else. Take what resonates with you and just allow it to flow through your system. You are here for the long haul. You are here. If you are born in this time, whether you are, 12, 22, 48, 108, you are here very, very specifically to be part of the change, to be part of this incredible evolution on your planet. There is no accident you are here, even though sometimes you look in the mirror and you may feel like that this is the way. Embrace it as much as you can and be an example in life of what you would like to receive. Be kindness. Kindness takes no intellect, doesn't take anything except heart, but it can be struggling sometimes to be kind. But do aim to be kind. Have grace, have fortitude, most of all, have love. Leave the world each day in a better place than you found it. And when the world comes on top of you, have a duvet day, as they call it. Allow yourself to hermit. Don't wallow, but honor what you are feeling. Every single feeling is valid. Everything, the way that you live your life is valid. Remember that. And just remember, you are a beautiful spark of light in this universe. The universe is learning through you. Your soul is learning through you. Be proud of who you are. Create your personality in a way that is unique and how you wish it to be. The more comfortable you are in the skin, the more comfortable you are in your heart, the more you can be exactly what your heart desire chooses to be. Understand, yes.
Yes, thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure, my dear. I shall leave you now. Uh, let Janet come back. Haha. Goodbye, my dear. Goodbye. Stay in your hearts. Stay true to yourselves. And we will be watching you with great joy at all that you are. Goodbye, my dears. Ooh. Hello.
Hey,
So that's Zach.
that was great. I love Zach so much. I mean, honestly, I could have talked to him for hours. I have something else that I have to go to, or else I would literally stay on with Zach for a whole entire day. Yeah, so how can we support you? I'm so curious. Like, how can our followers get more Janet, and is there any way we can just help you accomplish your mission in the world?
I would love, 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 love for people to come and find us, patreon.com and /Zach's Portal. ZAC he is. That's how he spells that. ZACS Portal. So it's Zach's Portal. This is really what we're doing at the moment. Like I say, I've been ill for quite some time. As soon as I'm back doing other things, we will be letting the world know as well. But if you go on there, this was set up by Hazel, and Hazel has the biggest heart of anyone I think I've ever met, the most positive, optimistic person. And right from the start, it was like 6, 7 years ago. No, it's probably longer than that, 10 years ago. Um, we really wanted things to have real good value. So nothing is taken off. When you go into it, you will find the Zach chats from the very, very beginning. And even though the Zach chats, they're monthly and there are questions that are quite timely. As we say, he's not actually like a prophet as such. So there's benefit in listening to any of them. They're free to unlock. You will find some of them on YouTube now, but you may laugh at it because it's, like I say, it was actually Hazel hadn't, I'm sure she won't mind me saying this, she hadn't realized she'd pressed a button. And this is the cosmos. This is what the cosmos does, doesn't it? Because she has been so supportive of my needs and being a channel and with the voice, the quite strange accent, I had wanted it to be quite, sort of just this. You can only see it here, but obviously people are getting it from YouTube. But if you actually go to Patreon, and you go to Zach's portal, you will find everything. And if you do wish to become a member with us, um, we aim to keep it really affordable. I think it works out about 10, 12 pounds a month, which is, I don't know what that is, about $15. You know, and we have no contracts, so people can just sign up, see what's there. If they don't want it, or they only want to be there for a couple of months, they can do that. And what we give every single month is a deep dive. So just like how you've been talking to Zach, he has these cosmic classrooms on incredible topics. Um, and so they have a deep dive. But what he does, which is something that I absolutely love, you can tell because I'm smiling because I love the deep dives. But what he then goes off to do with me is he then channels a meditation, which is enriched and encoded with transmission energy, which is then in the recording of a way people can just relax, take in the meditation and take on board that teaching, but the practical, it can really help. When I was really sick, I was listening to ones to do with healing he'd done and all sorts of things. So you can find that, like I say, patreon.com. That's our sex portal. Find us there. We would love you to come a member, just even just to see, just to feel, just to be part of those meditations. A very relatively new thing we've found just recently. You can buy the just the deep dives, but you sort of think for the money, why not just sign up for a month and see what's there? I mean, like I say, there's just hundreds of things on there now. We also do a transcript each month because not everyone has time to listen to like a whole hour, and some people, I'm a real reader. I love to read stuff. So we have the transcripts of the deep dives and the chats that are available too. And I think in the game changers, which is just a few pounds more each month, you get the transcript as well. Otherwise they can be bought. And then you can go back. I'm I know I shouldn't, but I do like to print things out and then have my highlighter and remind myself of things, especially some of the affirmations. But I would say anyone that looks at my website, which is Planet Therapies, anyone that actually looks at that or looks me up, I apologize right now that it's about 4 years out of date because, as I say, I haven't been on anything, and so rather than putting things on, I've just literally most people in the sort of Zaki world and a community have known this for a while that where I was at and what was actually happening. And so coming on here, I was thinking, oh, my website, terrible. But you can always go on there. And what you can do there is just join my newsletter. You get a free meditation if you do that. I haven't sent one out for a while, but you'll be hot off the press. You'll be the people that will first hear as well about things that are going to be going on outside of Patreon as well. We're hoping, maybe in the future I'll be able to do workshops, extravaganzas, all sorts of things, talking at events, all sorts of wonderful things. But for now, I'm just so grateful to be alive, to be getting so much better, to be part of this beautiful world, and to be talking to you. It's just been really, really lovely. Really, really
Oh, yeah.
lovely. I hope I haven't gabbled on for way too long.
No, no, I hope we can do it again because I love this, your energy, your connection to the heart, and it was just like perfect for our collaborative. I know everyone's gonna love you and they're gonna embrace you. So look forward to many of our members coming and finding you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for all the work you're doing. Incredible stuff.
Bye,
Brilliant.
everybody. Bye, Janet. Bye, Zach, and bye, everybody. We love you all.
Bye.